Welcome back to the show. We're talking about the latest crisis in Iraq, and joining me here in the studio is a former Iraqi ambassador to the United States, Samir Sumaidaie. Mr. Sumaidaie has also been a former Minister of the Interior and a member of the Governing Council. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Events moving very fast in Baghdad. Now we have the president asking Haider al-Abadi, the deputy speaker, to form the new government. It's unclear yet about the fate of the Prime Minister, Nouri al-Maliki. What do you make of this?
It's a significant development. Of course, last night we saw Mr. Maliki threaten that unless he is nominated, then all hell will break loose, as if it hasn't already. And he took the step of positioning some security forces in certain parts of Baghdad to intimidate other politicians. There were even reports that he might issue an arrest warrant or get an arrest warrant to be issued against the president himself for breaching the constitution. That was all alarming, and it's still not clear what Maliki's next move will be. It is clear that he wants to cling to power at any cost. The cost would be catastrophic, of course, if he pursues this path. He will be charging down a blind alley. This will lead to further destruction. It will lead to probably fighting among his allies, the Shia coalition, and ultimately the destructions of his own ambitions in any case.
You mentioned that speech that he made, the late-night speech that he made. It was a very defiant speech. So is he going to go quietly?
Well, so far he has not given any indication of willing to go quietly. Mr. Maliki has made the wrong move at every possible turn, right from the time he took office in 2006 until now. And he's at least been consistent in that. I think everybody in Iraq has grown totally tired of him, and he's good to go. There is no doubt about it. One thing has united everyone. That's Maliki must go. On other things, they disagree. On this, everybody agrees.
One of the things he has done, though, is that he has mobilized troops. There's been a part of a lockdown in parts of Baghdad. Does he have the support of the military?
Well, you know, the military, we saw the performance of the military when they were confronted by Daesh. What he did, he pumped the Iraqi army full of so-called generals, people who are his loyalists, if you like, put them in high-ranking positions in the army without any military background. So these people are almost illiterate, they're incompetent, they're not good leaders, they don't have the loyalty of the rank and file, and that was what led to the disintegration of their units when they were confronted with real threat. Now, in Baghdad, what will they do? They are behaving as militias. And of course, he is also relying on some Shia militias who are on the extreme side of the sectarian conflict, and hoping that they will carry him through. As I said, if he persists in this course, this will lead to a huge amount of bloodshed in Baghdad and totally unknown consequences.
Right, you've been at the highest levels of government. You've been a Minister of the Interior back in Iraq. You have been a member of the Governing Council. The man who has been called upon to form the new government, Haider al-Abadi, what do you know about him?
Well, Haider al-Abadi was, if you like, a functionary in the Dawah party, the same party which was led at the time by Ibrahim Ja'fari, and at the time Nouri al-Maliki was the deputy for Ja'fari when I was a member in the Governing Council, and Ibrahim Ja'fari was another member. Haider al-Abadi was one of the senior members of the party, which was not a big party. Now, he comes from the same ideological background. The Dawah party, I'd like to remind you, was an Islamist Shia party which was heavily persecuted during Saddam Hussein, and many of its members were executed. So they have this, this besieged mentality, very paranoid, and very hard to trust others because of the background, because of the suffering they have actually, and the price they paid for their opposition during Saddam Hussein. So that mindset is the same mindset which we will find with Haider al-Abadi. I remember an incident here in Washington, in the Willard Hotel, actually, when Haider al-Abadi came as part of the entourage of Nouri al-Maliki when Nouri was first prime minister in 2006. And the discussion in the lobby of the Willard was, well, now the Shia has got power. They should never, and they will never relinquish it. Now, if you approach power with this mentality, it's very hard to see how you can gather the other people to be working with you. It's very clear what Haider al-Abadi has to do. Whether he can do it, whether he has the ability mentally or politically to do it, that's a different question.
Well, he has to create an inclusive government right now. Is that what he will do? Will he bring the Sunnis in?
Well, as I said, I hope he will, because that's the only way to deal with the woes of Iraq. What he needs to do is to reach out to the Kurds, reach out to the moderate Sunnis, rely on moderate Shia instead of relying on the extreme wing of the Shia sectarian political spectrum, if you like, and bring the country back to the center, get away from extreme sectarian politics. That's the only way. If he retraces the steps of Maliki, right, there is absolutely no hope.
The United States is watching all of this very, very closely. In fact, the US, the White House has been calling for al-Maliki to step down. They've been calling on him to do that for weeks right now. How much leverage does the United States have right now to influence events in Iraq?
I think they have more leverage than most people think they have. They have many instruments of policy at their fingertips. You don't have to have 100,000+ troops on the ground to be able to influence policy. The Americans are still involved. They can be instrumental in containing and rolling back the advance of ISIS or IS. They have political, diplomatic, economic influence. They are still a major player. And importantly, people in Iraq listen. A lot of them do listen to them. They have allies in the form of Kurds. They have allies in the form of moderate Sunnis. They have allies in Iraq. And I think they can mobilize that if they pursue the right policy.
I want to ask you very briefly about the situation up in the northwest. The United States now is carrying out airstrikes against IS positions up there. The Kurds, we understand, have won some battlefield victories. Does the U.S. action in the northwest have the support of the central government in Baghdad? Did the Baghdad government request these things?
In formal terms, yes. But the question then comes, which central government? And we've just been talking about the change in the central government. So we will wait to see when this new government is formed, which is supposed to be formed within a month, what position it will take. My guess is that it will welcome any support it gets in fighting Daesh or IS. But the biggest factor will be the Iraqi factor. How this new government, which I hope will be formed quickly, and I hope that Maliki will take a step aside, how they tackle the political issue. If they can rally the country around them, we have a good hope. If they don't, it's going to be more of the same disaster.
Ambassador, thanks for joining us.
Pleasure. Thank you.